Hi everyone, Jeremy here from Flatware Creations. Again, this is my third attempt. The new camera system is messed me up a little bit yesterday and today, so I believe there should be sound right now. So I'll start this over. We're going to be making whale tails today. 3 tablespoons and 2 teaspoons for an order. They want the stems twisted over to make the pendant. So I'll be using those. I'll be using my Sharpie ultra fine point. Let's see. I like this because it doesn't just wipe off. It will come off, but it doesn't take you really having to just barely touch it, and it comes off like a lot of pens. So we're going to be using the templates from flatwearable.net. I had my own, but these are so much easier. And they have the dead center of each of them. So as we go along, we can get the trace on there. Just switch to this one. So we'll get these straightened out and try this again. Okay, but first we've got to flatten these guys. So I'm going to bump this over here. And I'm going to try and start doing this so you guys don't have to follow the other camera. There we go. Little movements, nothing big. First, we're going to flatten our spoons here. So this is the Flatwearable. You're going to hear me say Flatwearable a bunch because this whole system was theirs. The stencils is theirs. This is the new 3D press bar. And it has this spoon bender on here. This is mine. This came from Flatwearable, so you do have something to use. But this I got from a scrap, a metal scrap. It was a machinist place, and this was in their scrap pile. That's what I was trying to say. This is stainless steel. But what I do is I put my spoons in here. And always try and keep it on your block. So if you just have this little guy, try and keep this on the block. I like the bigger one. So what I do is I'm going to dimple the top. So I just have a slight dimple in there. And I'm going to kind of go around. So these aren't getting textured as far as I know. So I'm trying to make sure that this is nice and flat. So we don't have a huge dimple in there. Pretty flat. All right, full speed. Can everybody hear me okay? done. So back here we go. Let me see what's going on with this thing. Okay. Guess there's nothing there to check on. So I'm not going to buff these right now. I'm just going to start tracing on them. And I think this camera will have that. I don't want the glare on there. There we go. Okay. So okay, there's my number. Everything's just changing on me. Okay, so they want regular whale tails. This is tablespoon. So what I'm trying to do is match up these corners here. I want to make sure that my stem or handle is centered here, and then I'm looking at these points right here. They're centered. So I'm just going to trace this guy. And that's it. Whale tail. Now I'm going to take this up just a little bit higher. So same thing. Get the handle square. Get my dots. So much easier than before. Okay. There we go. All right, so we obviously can't use that one on this one. This one here looks like it will work for the teaspoon. Right. I'm trying to do a better job of looking up at the computer screen to see if you guys are seeing anything or if it's going fuzzy or not. So I'm just fixing these centers. I like them to go up a little bit farther. Now we just have to find my saw. And I know right where it's at because it is magnetized to my fan. Ah, it's me. So I have this magnets from a computer. I just stick my I don't lose my saw. Alright, let's get the Gigi Eyes back here without getting sick. And oh, I almost got it. Okay, so I will be using 3/0 blades. I always keep out the one that's in the saw. I have a whole set of these tubes from I think 4 to 08 or 8/0. But this is what I have in the saw right now. My jeweler saw. This was a cheap one off eBay that was adjustable back here. That allows me to use shorter blades, so if this thing breaks off, I can use it still. This one looks like it has a little rust on it. But the teeth are pointed down, so on the downstroke, you're actually cutting. So I need one more thing. I need my wax. So you can use beeswax, you can use candles. Some people use Burr Life from Rio Grande. Pretty much anything waxy that you can use as a lubricant. You're just going to basically fill your teeth with it, and then you can start your cut. So just making sure the chat works before I get into this. And okay, I think just try to make it so it's not glary, but you can see. Okay. Putting on my glasses, and I'll keep trying to look up every once in a while to okay. Okay. So I get these done, and I have room, so I'm not going to hit the camera. All right, let's get started. I'm going to use my other glasses. That's better. All right, so I like to put my blade against the edge and bring my piece to where I want to start. That helps me get started, and then I'll pull it away and I'll start following my line. Just locking my vise down a little bit. There we go. That feels better. And at a certain point, you're going to feel and hear the saw change. So right there, it just changed. Wax my teeth, and we'll keep going. Now I'm just barely pushing. So depending on your silverware, yep, that's funny. So you can kind of see how I'm holding it with my thumb kind of indexed. That helps me keep the blade going in the direction I want it. The hard part about this silverware is the base metal. They're silver plated, so the outside isn't a problem really, but it's what is underneath. Also, in this situation, a small cheap paintbrush. Pretty sure I got this one at the Dollar Tree. Helps you wipe off those shavings so you can see what you're doing. Now here, I'm not pushing forward, I'm just kind of holding it backwards a little bit as I turn my saw. Once I get my saw blade turned around, then I start. It's in those transition parts where you're twisting the blade where you break about 90% of your blades. I picked these two spoons, one because they were already shiny, two because they were thin enough I knew I'd get through them pretty easy. If this was sterling, I would have already been done. That's how much softer sterling is. I can't believe it, I'm staying inside the line. On the line. So as you get towards the end of your cut, you want to kind of move it to the back of your V here, right here, so that the saw blade one doesn't jump too far forward. If you have your finger like this and it comes through, you're going to cut right into your finger, and this thing, from experience, will slice right through your finger. Poof! Our first whale tail. I know a lot of people that do these with Dremels. Some people use their cutting angle grinder. Couldn't think of the word there. And it all works. I just like this way. One, I get to saw. I like sawing. But two, I have a whole lot less cleanup work when I do it this way. If you notice also, I'm turning the piece, not my hand. You'll catch me moving my hand every once in a while, but for the most part, I'm moving the piece that I'm cutting, and I'm keeping my saw in the same place. So how's everyone doing today? Okay, so we're right up to the top there again. So what I'm going to do here is, if you have the chance, go ahead and wax your blade. But how do I explain this? I'm pulling it backwards just enough to get the teeth not to catch as I turn this. And you'll hear one of the teeth one side of the teeth start to grab. Once that happens, you can start to get the blade where you want it, and off we go. I wish I didn't have to wear my headphones because of copyright issues. But the nice part about the headphones is it does save me from the constant sawing or the grinding noises. And I found out that my microphone does cut out a lot of the high-pitched pieces. Unfortunately, you still have the cutting. I can shut it off, but then I have to turn it on before I set anything. Okay, let's get to the back. There we go. Another pretty whale tail. Alright, on to the big guys. So you can kind of see how it's rippled right here. There's only a little bit of that rippling that goes up into here. And most of that we can get out whenever we finish the piece up. If we can get those out. So again, same thing, I waxed my blade, putting my blade against the edge, bring my saw down to it. Woo! Make sure you guys can see this. All right, and away we go. So after I get this one done, I'll finish off one of the small ones, so the video is not super long for those of you who are just hopping on for a couple of minutes. The lives are always longer because this actually takes work and it takes time. I do have intentions of going through the lives and making shortening them down a lot into more produced videos, so you don't have 4 hours of me just working. Okay, so we're here. We'll wipe that off. Bring that on there, and again, just kind of pulling backwards a little bit, allowing that saw to catch. There we go. Thank you, Georgia. Oh, you're on there. Somebody just commented on my Facebook. Nope, it wasn't for me. That's funny. Alright, let's get this one finished. So I forgot to clarify with the customer if they wanted them textured or not. So we can texture after. So I'll get them all cut right now. Okay, almost through. Moving to the back. There we go. Big whale tail. All right. So let's finish up one of these little guys. So first I'm going to take my little Dremel tool here. So what I'm looking for is the little saw marks. Let's see if this will work this time. So you see all the little saw marks there. What we're doing is we're taking those off, and there's a little burr on the edge. So that's what I'm removing right now. So I'm going to get off these lines, and then we're going to go into this little crevice here in the middle with a small diamond bit, and we're going to just clean that up in there. So that's what we're doing here. Okay, so here we go. You want to be careful how much you take out because you can change the shape. So I'm using the glare from the light to be able to see where I've been missing. And then I'm going to take this and very carefully go along the edge to take off that top burr. We'll do the back the same way. No sharp edges. And I'm just going to take the points off a little bit. We want it to look pointy, but we don't want it to be able to hurt somebody. Okay, so that's nice. The rest of that I get taken off in the tumbler. So I still have my little lines in the middle. I'm going to use a tiny little triangle piece. I have the autofocus on. There, it's just a little diamond burr. Oops. Got it in there, forgot to set it back. Remember, we're just trying to get the lines off. So this is all still smooth. So I'm going to take this over to my buffer tool here. Let's see. Okay, okay, apply, okay. And I'll try not to make you guys sick, so you get to look at me for a second. I want you down here at the buffer, so this should be pretty close. There we go. So this wheel here is called a fiber wheel. It basically is just a whole bunch of fibers together, and it goes up my arbor. This little piece here goes to a point and it has threads on it that spin the opposite direction of your motor. So whenever you start the motor, there, it just winds itself on there. Normally I use a dust mask, but since we're just using this one, I'm going to hold my breath, and I'm just going to try and take off the edges here. Let's see if I can get you. It's still going to wash out. Okay, so I'm going to hold my breath, and we'll have this done in a second. So what we have now is a nice smooth tail. Focus where I want you to. So all our lines are gone. Everything's nice and neat and clean. Flip you back to here. And I'm just going to give this a light polish. Let me just bring you guys up here like this. So you'll be upside down for a second. So this is my red rouge, and then this is my white buffing wheel. So I'm going to just go to the red right now just to clean this up. Get this all wiped off. All right, so this piece is looking good. Nice and shiny. I don't have any tool marks. So now we're going to cut this and we're going to bend it. And you're probably asking, how long am I going to cut it? I don't know. That helps you a lot, doesn't it? Okay, so I have some other tools here. This is a pair of snap ring pliers that had little tips on the end. I ground the tips off. This was one of the first tools that I started using because it was strong enough to bend the silverware. Important. As you upgrade, you get these graduated pliers that have different sizes on them. I'm going to be using them to kind of gauge how big the loop I want. So I'm looking at this piece right here. Make sure you're making your bend the right way. I always like to have the front of the spoon out, but we're going to move up a little bit. You need to have enough room for this to go around. So if I use this guy, I'm going to need probably about this much. So teaspoon, let's get a measurement here. From the top of the tail from the top of the tail, here's 1 inch. This is 2 inches. That's 1.5. I'm gonna say by eyeballing it, we're gonna want the 1.5 inch mark. Always keep the piece that you want on your side of the cutters. All right, now we're committed to this measurement. Real quick to the belt sander. You can use a file to do this too, but I just basically took the edge off. I'm sorry, I forgot the autofocus on. Let's get you over here where I want you. I wish there was an easier way to control the autofocus, because that's really what I want. Okay, so I'm going to take this guy and see if I can bend it over with my finger. I cannot. So I'm going to grab my leather piece here. There we go. This is a thick piece of leather, the same size that I use for my block here. I put this in and then I highlight the top with black ink. So I'm going to go, I think it's probably the inch mark. Yeah, it's about 1 inch. Actually, the way we did it before was, it was 1.5 inches. So I'm going to go to 1/2 inch from the top of the whale tail. Let's start tapping this guy over. Once you get that bent, now you can start your bending on your anvil or vise. So now I have this up here. I don't want that one. I want my wood one. This is just a piece of paneling board. So I have the loop the size that I want, roughly. Once you get it started, you can hammer it to the shape you want. And I think I'm a little too long there. See how it's a little bit longer? So I'm going to cut off probably that other 1/2 inch. Maybe 1/4 inch. Alright, same thing. I'm going to go to the belt sander. I'll be right back. It's a little bit harder to do that whenever your belt sander's stationary and you have to get the that little tiny piece around without cutting your belt in half. So I'm just grinding off the inside of this. There we go. So it's nice and clean. So we're actually going to downsize now, because remember, we only need it to be big enough for a necklace to get through there. So I have this guy lined up in the one I want, and I'm going to tilt this all the way around. From this point, I am curled that way a little bit. You can kind of see how it's angled a little bit. I'm going to put it back in here. Okay, so we're straight there. I'm going to downsize again. Now we have our loop, but you can still see my finger through the back side. We're just going to take this and hammer it straight down. Now we have nice closed back, and it's round. And when we lay it on its face, it should lay pretty much flat. So there's one pendant, and this is ready for a chain and a necklace. All right, one down, and now we get to finish. So I'm going to do all of those steps all over again for the rest of them. So this one's cut, this one's cut. This is just a piece of 1x board that I had, and I made my own block. I just took and cut out a corner of it. I've never had a bench block. Someday I eventually will, but I think it's going to be a little trickier for me to start on, because I'm used to kind of cutting at an angle. Let's see what happened here. Okay. There we go. So we got 2 more to do. Wax and my saw. This one's tilted way up. I don't want that kind of an angle to deal with. I think I can do this without hitting the camera. Oh yeah, I'm good. Okay. Do you guys have any questions? So this metal is nice and easy to saw through also. You can also do this without flattening the bowls. Those have been pretty interesting. You want to cut and put your pattern on the rounded side of the spoon. So the bottom part of the spoon, that's the side that you want to see facing up. It is so much easier than trying to cut it with the bowl side up, which I have done a couple of times. It's just so much easier to do with the bowl upside down. And I'm not really pushing forward when I'm going up. I'm not pulling it back, but I'm also not continuing to push it forward. It's also important to make sure that you stabilize the rest of the piece that you're cutting. Because it will change the angle, and sometimes it will pinch your blade. Move to the back. There we go. All right, one more. I was thinking, how many blades am I going to break today? I haven't done any sawing in quite a while. I'm like, in my head I'm all excited right now because I haven't broken one. But that's the nice part about using a 3/0, is it's not super fragile. So there is a blade calculator for the thickness of the metal that you're cutting. You want to use certain blades. For me, I've tried that, but the thickness of the silverware isn't so important as the base metal. So I know it's the thickness, you want X amount of teeth to bite in, but at the same time, you want to be able to cut through it without breaking blades. So I start out with the 3/0, and that's pretty much my #1 go-to unless I'm doing something fine. But this work here is definitely not fine. So 3/0 is my workhorse blade. I do have links down in the description. So if I don't use the same exact thing, I picked out the links to the items that I'll be purchasing next to replace it. Yeah, if I could have some music playing in the background for you guys. Actually, I'm pretty sure I can put music in here. Just like a little background noise that I can turn up for you during this. Constant sawing. Fortunately, this is the last one we have to get out. So we're almost done. There we go, last one. So what you're left with now is some duck feet. Quack. These could be good frog's feet too. I was supposed to have 5. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This goes in my box. So now we have our 5 whale tails. 3 and 2 equals 5. Okay. So we're going to go do the same steps. I'm going to start with my diamond bit. That way you can just get all those done. So I'm doing the same exact steps that I did for the one. I'm just doing them for the rest now, and this is how I batch produce stuff. You do the same thing to everything, and you can get through it pretty fast. Changing the focus. So remember, you're not trying to reshape the hole unless it's bad. You're just trying to get off those little saw mark lines. And when I'm doing this, I'm just trying to get those lines off, but when I flip it around, oftentimes your saw blade, if you tilt your hand, will have a different direction. So that's why I keep flipping them over, because on this side I can see this direction, and then this side here I see more of the lines. So I have a little line right here. Just try to take that out. There we go. Now we're going to change over to the drum sander and clean up the rest. This is 180 grit. And I shake like crazy, so if I was to do this without it being stabilized, it gets kind of crazy. Get our tips off of there. Alright, now we're going to take off this edge. No sharp edges. And our points are down. If you get these down and you have a tumbler, the tumbler is going to do the rest. And I'm trying to use the entire piece of the drum. Thank you, Darlene. Get our points off of there. Nice and clean, get our tips. So you want to watch out for what I just did. Did you see how this flipped over and rolled around on me? So now watch what is on the front. I got a couple tap marks here from where this touched it. And I don't want them there. So I'm going to show you how I take them out. I don't like tool marks. So what I use to take these out are these I forgot what kind of wheels they're called, but they're basically a plastic wheel and they're impregnated with a sanding or some grinding agent. What is going on with my thing? It might be time for a new handpiece. So, can you guys see that? No. It doesn't do me any good to show you guys if I can't. Trying to get it without the glare for you guys, sorry. Nope, that's not it. Okay, so it's going to be dark for a second, but these are my marks right here. So I'm going to use this guy. I'm just barely going to touch it to it. The other thing you can use are these rubber wheels here. And I think that might do a better job. Okay, something is wrong with my Dremel piece here. And remember, whenever you're getting out tool marks, you really want to blend them into what's around them. So you make little circles around it. And these went deep. And I'm changing the angle on them. to see if they catch a certain direction. Now, because this is a finished piece, I'm actually going backwards down the sandpaper size. So I started with the finest and I'm working my way down. Because it's basically a finished piece, so I don't want to mess it up too much, but at the same time I want to get them out of there. Okay, so it's out of there now. Let's bring it back to shine. Okay. I'm gonna unzoom you. Contrast. Oh, it's still zoomed. I'm like, why can't I see anything? All right. Okay, so we're back to here. Okay. So that's good enough to get in the buffer right now. So I'm just going to take this one here to the buffer. I got them all, right? No, I didn't. Man. You can't even see what I'm doing. I use the light to reflect off of here, and that's how I can see my blade marks. And I'm just barely pressing. Okay. That one's done. That one's done. That one's done. That little tiny one, I must have forgot it on the when I was doing with the little diamond bit. There we go. Okay, so the hard part's done. So we're going to go to the buffer here. Okay, shut off the autofocus. Okay, so I'm going to put my other glasses on now, and I'm going to put on my mask. All right, I won't be able to talk for a minute, but I'll be right back. All right. Next, over to my belt sander. Actually, we have to cut these first. So the other one was almost perfect. But for these guys, I'm going to go the 1.5 inches again for the big ones. From the top of the tail, 1.5 inches. done cutting, I can go back in there. So I'm keeping my side, the side I want to keep on my side. Almost threw the wrong piece away. Okay, so we have our 4 pieces. Now let's move over here. Alright. Boo! Get you guys over here. And so we're going to start bending these now. You can go back to the fiber wheel for the end of this piece if you want, but for the most part it's going to be tucked on and never seen again. So where's my other pliers? There they are. So if you start out here towards the end, you can normally get a better bend on it, an easier bend. So I'm using my hand and I'm coming around and I'm grabbing it and I'm starting the bend. If you don't have enough strength in your hands, like my hand is killing me right now, so I'm gonna do this. Just enough to get it started. Okay, so now we can bring it down to here. And I'm going to tap this down. Let's go a little bit more. So we've got our bend going in there. I'm going to drop it down one size. And if I were doing this with my other pliers, I would have been back here at the biggest part and drawing that down. But I'm going to use these to the middle section. Checking to make sure my curve is straight. So for you it looks kind of crooked, for me it looks straight. So now we'll go down to the smallest size here. Making sure that it goes all the way down. Another thing you could do is put it on the edge and tap it, and sometimes that will close your gap. That didn't close the gap. So I just put the pliers back in here just so my hole doesn't close up. Okay, now it's closed. But I have tool marks also on it now. You can kind of see the bright shiny spot as it rotated around. Come on. There we go. Yeah, you can see it right there on top. I'm going to take my drum sander and just kind of lightly touch those pieces, or that bit. And basically I'm just blending them in. So it looks like we wanted them to be there. Okay. Okay, so this one is pretty much done. It's ready for the tumbler. Let's get these other two big ones done real quick. Oh, and you remember that little bump I was talking about in the beginning? There we go. I'm going to take that out now. Nice even tabs. There we go. Little bit of a curve there, but that part's not coming out. Okay, so again, we're going to start here. This one I was able to turn pretty good. Oh, wrong hammer. So this one I've used the big end of this without curving around. See how much farther down the tail came, or this came? So I'm going to put this in there, and I'm going to push. My pliers are flat. I'm going to push this piece, this little piece, down. There we go. And it's offset again. So for that, I'm just going to put this down here like this. Just give it a little tap. There you go, that's nice and flat, and my hole is closed. Let's do this again. It doesn't. Okay. So big part around there. Actually, let's use the whole thing in the middle piece this time. That definitely harder to bend. Definitely twisted. I want it to go this way. Now we're straight. Put my piece back in there. We're going to tap that down. And we're flat. There we go. The reason I'm hitting the top side is I like to try and get the angle where it will lay nice and flat. So everything looks good. We have one little tool mark here. Okay, and it looks good. Last one. This one I'm going to use the smallest. Actually, I'm going to use the medium one to start and curl that right around. So you can see where that one ended up wasn't quite as far down, and it wasn't super far back. And it is almost touching. There we go, now we're touching. Alright, so there's all of our whale tails. I keep tossing them in the tumbler because that's my habit. Let's show you guys what we made. And where's my other guy? Oh, there it is. I'm like, there's nothing left in the tumbler. Okay, so if you notice, it's pretty much all the same, but what continues to change is the backs. So as you experiment and go through, see what you like best and where you like best. All of these were basically cut at 1.5 inches from the top of come on. So here's my beginning mark. So from the top of the tail, this is what I'm talking about, to here, 1.5 inches, this is where I cut almost all of them. But as you adjust, you can see the different shapes coming along. So really nice and round, nice and tall. This is probably my favorite style. Just going with the smaller one. And this one, it wouldn't touch, so as I hammered it, it flattened out a little bit. You got to watch out for that. That's why I stuck this, the tool back in there to make sure that it didn't go flat. And then you kind of see the bend here where I hit them. They lay really nice and flat. I know 2 of these I didn't do that to. Yeah, I didn't do that to this one or this one. There we go. Everything looks good. Let's get it all tossed in the tumbler and out to the customer. So do you guys have any questions or anything for me? Let's see. Ah, that's me. Okay. Before I head off here, we'll just focus. Okay. Okay. I'll give you guys a second. That's as easy as the whale tails are. So I use the saw because the lines are so easy to get out with the barrel or with the drum sander. It just makes things so much easier. I don't have to worry about a lot of cleanup. You do have to watch out for plate loss. Come on. So that little corner that we were working on, we did get some plate loss on it. If they want this all hammered or textured, that doesn't matter because it's going to be that way. I might make an extra one, but if you look at while I was researching whale tails, if you look at the each tail is basically a fingerprint because every single tail is shaped a little different. I thought that was kind of cool. But I see there's nobody on, so we're going to call it a day, and I will see you later. Let me see if this thing works. There it goes. So like, share, subscribe. If you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. Also, I know some people are only able to watch on TV and things like that, but you can still thumbs up. And there is a new thing that I saw. It was a dollar bill thing for like donations or whatever. I keep forgetting to mention those, but I will see you guys all later. Thank you for continuing to join me and going through this experience with me. I will continue to do lives until I have more time to finish the regular videos. All right, I think that's it. So I'll see you guys all later.